Today we're editing stock footage. So, a lot of you asked how I edit my stock videos, so in this video I'll go through that. So, how I stabilize footage, cut it, color grade, and what export settings I use. I'll also talk about some shortcuts that are making my life easier, and I'll also share some tips about what you should not do. So, let's just dive into it. So, I'm using DaVinci Resolve for editing my footage, and I'll show you the main reason why I use it later when we'll export the footage. And the other reason is that it's free. Well, I also bought the studio version, which costs around $300 because I needed some extra features, but most of the time the free version would be just enough. But before we jump into Resolve, there's one more software that I use quite often. So I shoot handheld a lot, so the footage is not very smooth, so I need to stabilize it. Of course, if I'm shooting with a gimbal, I skip this step, but sometimes shooting handheld gives me the most versatility when it comes to camera movement. And to stabilize the footage, I'm using Sony software called Catalyst Prepare. So this software actually uses gyro data from my Sony camera to do its magic, and the stabilized footage is much better than if I just used DaVinci stabilization, which stabilizes clips looking at the actual video. And I can just throw all the clips in and it will batch stabilize them. But there are two huge downsides here. So the first one is that it's not free, you have to pay for it. I think it's around 16 euros every month, which sucks. And the second one is that every month after the payment it says subscription expired, even though I paid for it. And then I'm writing to support every month and I have to wait 2 to 3 days before they fix that, and yeah. It's quite frustrating. They also have a free software called Catalyst Browse, but you can only stabilize one clip at a time, so yeah, not very useful. Apparently there's one software that's free and also better than this one. It's called Gyro Flow, and they also have a plugin for Resolve, which is great, but I just haven't got time to install and try it yet. But I will definitely, and if it works better than this one, I will just cancel this Catalyst subscription. Okay, so for this shoot we're editing today, I know I shot a part of it handheld, so we'll use this software. So this is it, you can just select where your files are. I'll go here. So we're editing these files today, and here we can see we have this little icon. So if we click on it, it will say contain stabilization metadata. That actually means that there are some gyro data which the software can use to stabilize the footage. Because here, if we go down a little bit, on these clips here we don't have any stabilization data because they were shot in 100 frames per second. So I know I shot this part of the shoot with the gimbal, but from here I was shooting handheld. So let's right click on this clip and hit stabilize clip. So it will open another window, and here you have these options. And here you can actually select how much the software can crop your videos for stabilization. So what I found is that for most of my videos somewhere around 93% works the best. But still, if there was too much movement in the shots, there will be some shakes visible, but we can stabilize that even more later in DaVinci. And then I can just select all the clips and click this button here for export. And here we have to specify some export parameters. So because I know I shot everything at 50 frames per second, I can export them all with these settings, so same as source. But if you shot some videos in 25 frames per second and some of them in 50 frames per second, then it's a bit more complicated. Because if you select clips with different frame rates, it will export them all at just one frame rate. So if you're doing this, it's a good idea to split them into separate folders and stabilize them one folder at a time. I know, not ideal, but it is what it is. And here I have to select the destination folder and click batch export, and here I can see that I have all these clips selected, and I click OK. But I actually already did this because it takes a lot of time, so if you have a lot of clips, I suggest you to do that overnight or while you're doing something else. Hey guys, Future Luca here. So now when I'm editing this video, I realized I missed an important detail. So if you want the stabilization to work, you have to turn the stabilization in camera off. Otherwise everything will just look so much worse. So yeah, let's go back into the video. And also subscribe if you like this content. And here my stabilized clips are in here. So let's jump to DaVinci. So if you haven't used DaVinci Resolve yet, there are multiple tutorials on YouTube, so you can check them. I suggest the one from Casey Ferris. It's an hour and 40 minutes long. I think it's called DaVinci Resolve 18 Crash Course, and it will give you all the info that you need. I'll also link it down in the description if you want to check it out. Also, I can make one more related to stock videography if you're interested, so let me know down in the comments. So in DaVinci Resolve we have these tabs down here, and we'll actually start in this edit section. So we have to add our clips in, so we'll do that by just dragging them in here. It will ask us if we want to change the frame rate to project's frame rate, which we don't, so I'll just click don't change. And we have all these clips here. So we have this stabilized folder here and all other clips here. I will just go through them and delete the ones which are not stabilized. So this, and I will exclude this and this. Okay, let's delete this one. Okay, perfect. Okay, so what I like to do is to go through every clip and set in and out points and put them into the timeline. So let's start with this gimbal shots. Okay, so let's play the clip. Okay. We can go through it a little bit faster. We can set in point here with shortcut I on keyboard, and then we'll go to the point where we want the video to end, maybe somewhere here, and we'll set the out point here with keyboard shortcut O. Okay, and now when we have selected in and out points, I'll just press P to put it on the timeline. You can also simply just drag and drop the clip, or you can just select the video without audio, so like this. But for me the fastest way is just to press P and it automatically goes into the timeline. Now as you can see we have audio here, but for stock we don't need audio. But just ignore that and we'll deal with that when we export our clips. Okay, so let's go to the next clip. So set in point. Go through it, and we'll go somewhere here and select out point, again P, and that's it. Now one more thing, so I shot everything at 50 frames per second, so I can decide here which clips I want in real time and which ones in slow motion. So let's say we want this first clip in slow motion. So usually you want to decide that before you put it on the timeline, so we'll delete that here. And let's go back to this clip. So if we want this clip to be in slow motion, we can just right click here and select this clip attributes. So here we can select in which frame rate we want this clip to be. So we'll select 24 frames per second or 23.976 and select OK. Now if we check here, it's already in slow motion, and when we put it on our timeline, it's also in slow motion. And also what I do is I put all the slow motion clips to this second video track, and here's why. When I'll be rendering all the clips, I will name them as V1 plus name for this first track and V2 plus name for this second track. So when me or somebody from my team will keyword these clips for iStock, he will know right away which ones are slow motion and which ones are real time. Okay, there's also one more option for slowing clips down, so you can just drag it down into the timeline, right click and select change clip speed. So you can change it to 50% to get that 2 times slow motion. Okay, and now we have the clip in slow motion. But there's a catch here. When we'll be exporting these clips, we will export them as individual clips. And if you leave this clip as it is here, it will render the clip as a real-time clip in the same frame rate as it was shot, although the timeline is in 24 frames per second, and although you slowed it down. So yeah, DaVinci will just ignore timeline settings when you're exporting as individual clips, unless you make a compound clip. So if you right-click on this clip and select New Compound Clip and click Enter, now it will actually render it with timeline settings, so 24 frames per second, and it will be in slow motion like it's here on the timeline. But if you slow the clip down using this clip attribute settings like we did before, it will export it in slow motion, so you don't have to make a compound clip. Okay, let's move on. So we're on clip number 3. Okay. Yeah, I actually don't like this one because there's my shadow in here, so let's move to the next one. Okay, and let's go in point. Out point and put it on the timeline. And let's just speed this up a little bit. Okay, I now have all the clips in my timeline, so we can just move into the color tab. And here's where the headaches begin. Now, I can say I suck at color grading. Sometimes I just can't get the colors that I want, so it's quite frustrating. But I established a workflow that usually gives me quite good results. Now, what I do before I start color grading is change the timeline color settings. And you can go here into the settings, color management, and here I select this one, DaVinci Color Managed. I uncheck this and I select this HDR DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate, and here I select Rec 709A. Why I do that? Well, it's because these settings works best for my YouTube videos. Before I was using these settings, my YouTube videos were just washed out after uploading them, but with these settings the videos on YouTube look the same as here in DaVinci. Okay, let's click save. So this area here are nodes. So it's similar to layers in Photoshop, but a bit different. I won't go into details here, but if you want to know more, check out that video from Casey Ferris. So first I'll create a few of these nodes with shortcut Option S. So on the first one I'll do basic corrections like white balance, shadows, highlights and similar. Second one I'll use if I need to change the hue or saturation of a particular color. Third one for applying color space transform, and the last one for applying a bit of that teal and orange LUT. So I know some people are applying this color space transform in the beginning, so on the first node, and then all those basic adjustments after it. And some people are doing it like this, so I'm not sure which one is better. From what I see, doing this, so putting color space transform after this basic adjustment looks better, but I'm not 100% sure. So let's actually start with this third one. So we'll go here to this effects panel and we'll choose this color space transform and we'll just put it here on our third node. Because I'm shooting in log, so I have to transform the footage in Rec 709, and this color space transform will do just that. So we'll select input color space, so we'll select Sony S Gamut 3 Cine, and then we'll select input gamma, here also Sony S Log 3, and then output color space we'll use Rec 709, and output gamma will be Rec 709A. Okay, I'll also turn this off, and that's it for this node. So for this last node, I like to apply a teal and orange LUT. I have one from Full-Time Filmmaker, so this one, but there are also a lot of similar LUTs out in the internet to download. But of course, this is just too strong, so I'll only use a bit of this LUT. So I will set the opacity here to 0.2 maybe. So yeah, it's not a major difference, but it's just a little bit of that look, and I think it looks a lot better from this. So here's with a LUT and here is without. Okay, so let's move to this basic adjustment. So we'll go to first node. So here we have these color wheels. So this area here is for the dark tones, this one for mid-tones, and this one for bright tones. We also have these settings for temperature, tint, contrast, shadows, highlights, saturation, hue, and I think this looks just too blue, so we'll set the white balance here more towards yellow. No, not so much, maybe something like this. Okay. What I also like to do, especially if there's a bright background like here, I like to drop these highlights down, and I will lift this one. Something like that. Maybe we can brighten the mid-tones a little bit. Something like this. So, let's see. Maybe we can add a little bit of contrast. Okay. And maybe the dark tones are just a little bit too dark for my taste, so let's just brighten that. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Let's try to add a little bit of red. Maybe not. Something like this. Okay, and we can add a little bit of saturation. Something like this. Let's brighten it up a little bit more. Okay, now I think that's it. So if we check before and after, and let's move to the next clip. So if we want to transfer this color grade to this clip, we can just click on this one and then middle click on this one. And that's it. It will create these same nodes, and also all these settings will be like on the previous clip. So what I like to do is, if I have like several similar clips, I like to just select all of them and middle click here and replace color grade, and now I have the same color grade on all of these clips, and then I just correct each one of them. Okay, so this one, maybe it's a little bit too yellow. Also, I would bring the mid-tones up a little bit. Okay, something like this. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, this one is not good. So what we'll do here, we'll change the white balance a little bit. Okay, and it's also a little bit too bright for my taste, I think. Yeah, let's just move this and this mid-tones. Yeah, well, maybe we can leave them up a little bit. Okay. So yeah, that looks nice. Let's go to the next one and we'll just transfer these settings. Okay, perfect. And next one. Oh, this one looks pretty nice actually. Okay, I quite like it. So yeah, you just have to go through all of them. Let's try maybe some different ones. This one, let's transfer one of this. Oh. Okay, yeah, something like that. Oh. Okay, let's try this one. This one was actually shot after the sun already went down, so the colors are a little bit different. So let's see what we can do here. Yeah, maybe we'll go with something like this. Shadows. Yeah, I think something like this looks pretty good. Okay, which one should we do? Okay, let's go with this one. Let's copy the grade from here. Oh, this is just too yellow, I would say. Let's here. Okay, I like it. And let's move to this one. Let's leave the saturation a little bit. Maybe it's a bit too bright. Also, yeah, maybe something like this. It's nice orange here to emphasize this sunset, and yeah, it looks pretty good. So yeah, that's pretty much it here. I keep it very simple, and I'll just go through all of them and color grade them. So I just want to stop a little bit with this clip here. As we can see, there are still some camera shakes, even though this was stabilized in Catalyst Prepare. So we want to stabilize that even more here in DaVinci. And we'll do that by going here, and here we'll select similarity, because I found out that that usually works best. Okay, and we'll just hit stabilize. Okay, and if we check it now, yeah, all those shakes are pretty much gone. So that's it. Okay. Okay, so now we have all the clips ready for export. So let's go to this deliver section here. So I have a preset here for my stock videos, but let's say I don't have it, so I can show you which settings I use. So I would go here to QuickTime, and for stock you have more different options. You can export in H.264, 265, or ProRes 422, 422 HQ, or even 444. I don't know why, but I like to use this Apple ProRes codec, and I don't use high quality one, but I use this one. Okay, we'll use this like it is. And here in audio section we will unclick this export audio. Also here you can select if you want to render single clip or individual clips. So like I said, we'll use this one, individual clips, and then we'll go to file. And what's important here is that you check this box here, so you use unique file names. So add a unique name as prefix. So yeah, it will create something in front of this file name that you'll select. Also, we don't need this. And here we can select the name of the file. So I usually like to do it like this. So date of the shoot, France Beach. Okay, we will select folder. We'll use this same name. and that's it. Also here you can select if you want to render an entire timeline or if you want to just select a few clips. So you can use this in and out range if you want to select, let's say, from here to here. So now it will only render these files here, but we'll just select entire timeline. Okay, let's check again. So that's it. 4K resolution, audio, no audio, and yeah. And now we can just click this add to render queue, and we have it here. And now we can just render all of those files, and the files will be ready to uploading them to stock sites. But one more thing, you can have the best clips in the world, but if you don't have the right keywords, nobody will find them. So be sure to check this video here to learn how to properly keyword your stock content, and stay awesome, keep shooting, and I'll see you in my next video.